Today's episode, I'm going to talk about 5 retro games that would make perfect movies. Years ago, I was at this arcade in Coney Island, and I was playing all these games. It was like 1989, and I saw this arcade cabinet called SAR, which stands for Search and Rescue. And I went to go play it, and I noticed that it had the rotary dial controller that was popular amongst SNK games like Akari Warriors 1, 2, 3. And technically, this game in 1989 was SNK's last run and gun shooter that actually utilized that controller. So I played it, and what I was treated to was this awesome cinematic intro where like this spaceship disappears, crash lands on a planet, gets stuck in a ravine, so they dispatch a search and rescue team played by you or the second player who goes out and investigates. Now, upon playing this game, you're like in a spaceship with this huge fucking gun, and you see barrages of zombies just coming out of nowhere, and you just start shooting them, and they blow into pieces in marvelous gory detail. And you can shoot their legs from under them, and they'll try to blow you up. And then as you progress further into the stage, you actually take on xenomorphs. I mean, they may be a different color, but the Geiger designs over there, I'm surprised SNK never got sued. But what I like the idea that the xenomorph and the zombie are together in the same, like, pretty much sci-fi horror game. And it was a pretty fun game because it's gory, but also it has the atmosphere of an alien movie or an alien ripoff. And I couldn't stop thinking of like the concept of the movie Creature in 1985, where the creature kills its victims and puts a head crab to reanimate its victims to lure more victims, which is pretty cool. SAR, what I liked about the game is just you keep going further and you got to fight Gundam robots and security robots and everything about it, and then the end you escape and then the ship falls into the ravine. And I was like, wow, you know what, that would make an awesome film. I like the idea of xenomorphs and zombies in the same movie. Another game that I saw from SNK that same very year was a game called Beast Busters that utilized 3 Uzis.
Uzi 9mm.
The last game to use Uzis was a year before, was a game called Mechanized Attack by SNK, which was pretty much trying to ride the popularity of Tato's Operation Wolf and Operation Thunderbolt, which were popular light gun games for its time. What I like about Beast Busters is you got to take on zombies as well. It's a zombie apocalypse game. However, the zombies shoot at you, throw grenades, and not only zombies you take on also mutations. And the game's pretty like awesome. Like zombies in the subway, you got to blast them. You blast their body parts out. I know everybody's thinking, yeah, but Resident Evil was made. No, this was completely different, because what I liked about the game is when you finish the game, it's revealed towards the end that it was aliens all along being in control of the world's undead. And I like that ending. The ending was pretty cool. And I said, you know what? That would make an awesome film. It has enough blood, gore, and schlock to make a decent low-budget film that's pretty kick-ass. I can't think of any film that would actually I can compare it to, being that it has alien controlled zombies, other than probably Plan 9 from Outer Space. But Beast Busters eventually got a sequel, which was not as good as the original one, but I'll tell you this much: the original Beast Busters would have made an awesome game for like Super Nintendo. It was never really converted, but it would have made an awesome film. I'm going to give you guys a factoid. When The Walking Dead came out, I think Galen heard an idea that Robert Kirkman had about revealing what was the start of the zombie apocalypse and how it was going to be aliens that brought the dead back to life. And it just made me think of Beast Busters. Walking Dead never used this concept, and it saved the show for the first 5 seasons. The rest suck. And maybe if they did use this concept of Beastbusters, we would probably have a better Walking Dead series. Now let's stray from horror for a bit. And if, another game that would actually make a kick-ass movie is one of my favorite Capcom games of all time, and that would be Strider. Strider is an excellent, it has an excellent plot for a movie, and, just the location settings, futuristic Soviet Union, or unified Soviet Union, or how they call it, Eurasia, would make an awesome film because the start of the game is so cinematic, where Hiru, the main characters in the glider, and you see all these searchlights on top of these Russian buildings, and you basically right from the landing you start fighting all these Russian soldiers. You go through a mini boss who's like this Ivan Drago genetically engineered soldier. Then you take on a Russian parliament that turns into a centipede with a hammer and sickle. There's so many things about Strider that would make it an interesting film. Just the beginning alone just sort of reminds me of Snake Plissken's backstory of flying the Gullfire in Leningrad, which I kind of think might have inspired Strider's beginning. What I love about it is everything going from the Russian rooftops to the Siberian wilderness to an airship, or this I don't know, just everything about Strider has a different location and a different sequence. It's sort of like if the game was designed to have sequences like movies. I love one scene in particular where you gotta run down a mountain and all the bombs are exploding. I'm like, how 90s action movie is this? Think cliffhanger. Strider will make an excellent film for a myriad of reasons, and one of those reasons is substance. It has a cool storyline. A bad guy's a sorcerer. It's pretty much an action film, and to have the bad guy use magic towards the end and technology, it's sort of I would say science fiction fantasy action film. Strider would make a great movie, and let me tell you, Hollywood execs, look at their original game and tell me it won't make a great film. Now, we're talking about retro games here, and I'm gonna give or take any game that's over 10 years old or 10 years old. I'm gonna say Dead Space. Dead Space would make the ultimate sci-fi horror film that would follow the trend of really good sci-fi horror films like Alien and pretty much Event Horizon and Pandorum, which I personally need to do a review on. But what I like about Dead Space is pretty much the marriage of John Carpenter's The Thing with Ridley Scott's Alien on a slighter, bigger scale. I love the fact that the story, of this marker that's found on a planet that's actually making the crew of the space station go mad and then mutate into creatures. I like the fact that the creatures are made of the corpses of people, and I also like the fact that the main character is not a soldier but an engineer who uses all these weapons that are pretty much tools. And Dead Space, at one time, I think John Carpenter on his Twitter said that he would love to direct Dead Space. And I think he said it in the IGN interview as well. Could you imagine if Dead Space was directed by John Carpenter and has the cinematography of Dean Cundey, shot on Panavision or Panavision Digital? I mean, come on, man. Let's get people to work on practical effects again, like The Thing, and put some decent CG on it. Dead Space, with its sequels and everything, I think that it's a missed opportunity not to make this into a kick-ass horror film. But you have to have the right director and a good writer, because Dead Space is that good. Now, last but not least, I had to pick the best for, last. And I gotta say, in 1988, playing Altered Beast in an arcade was such an amazing experience. What I love about Altered Beast is it's not your typical, side-scrolling beat 'em up. It's different. I mean, it combines horror with sword and sandal fantasy, and I love that kind of shit, man. From like anywhere from like something out of like Ulysses, no, not Ulysses, Jason and the Argonauts, and like old sword and sandal films from the 60s, in particular the European ones. Altered Beast, its atmosphere is absolutely amazing. Just the start of Zeus resurrecting you from the dead, and you have to fight zombies and punch their fucking heads off their bodies and like punch their torsos towards the screen is amazing. The fact that you could turn into a werewolf, a were-dragon, a were-bear, a were-tiger, and then the villain of the villain of the game is pretty creepy, and he turns into like many different art incarnations of monsters. He turns into like this demon in the beginning, and that reinforces the horror element. Now, to those who never saw this film directed by Mario Bava, I would insinuate that Altered Beast was actually inspired by this Mario Bava film that was tremendously atmospheric, has the same look, Hercules and the Dark World. I think that's what it's called. It's pretty colorful and one of the most amazing Hercules films I saw, because it brings in the horror element, and that's what Altered Beast is. Altered Beast has everything in it, from zombies to like animal men, and this journey you going through is so atmospheric. I mean, you would need matte paintings and like digital composites to create, unless you shoot on location like in Game of Thrones. But if they ever do it, make the beginning with the words "Rise from your grave" coming out of Zeus's mouth, and you will have a kick-ass fucking film. So guys, what are the 5 retro games that you would like to see turned into movies? Just leave your comments down below. I'm interested in what you have to say, and please subscribe, people. And with that, I'll see you at the next episode. Peace.